Welcome to the Red G Fox channel. Thank you for joining us today. And today we are going to start on one of the greatest, second highest rated episodes in show history. That is Fred Sanford Legal Eagle. It comes in off IMDb at 8.5. We just dealt with 8.7 last week. Mama's Baby, Papa's Baby. Go check that video out. It is an amazing one. This episode is number 3 on our channel in our top 10 that we've ever covered. Real quick, the summary. Lamont gets his 3rd traffic ticket. One more ticket, Lamont's driver's license will be suspended, which means no more Sanford, no more son. It'll be nothing but a hand, as Fred says. And Fred wants him to fight it. The problem is Lamont does not want to fight it. Lamont knows, hey, I'm not going to be able to beat City Hall. I'm a nobody. I don't have a high-priced lawyer. I don't have any of these things. Hold fast, Lamont. Grady has a friend, the great Sonny Cochran, who gives Lamont, Fred, and even Grady some hope that maybe you can fight it. Grady even has an inspirational story. So there is some hope for Lamont, and we'll find out, can he beat the system when he goes to City Hall. That's the whole summary for this episode. Let's get to the fun facts. We do have a few of them today.
I didn't know that.
All right, on today's fun facts, it is Matthew Stymie Beard. We've already seen him in the pool hall episode where he buys the pool table. This is his 2nd appearance of 3. We'll see him one more time coming up in the Grady episodes when Fred Sanford goes to St. Louis, which is right behind the corner. But this is his 2nd appearance. Another fun fact, Sonny Cochran in this episode has been rumored to be referencing to Johnny Cochran. Well, people go, you know what? He wasn't big name yet, right? He hadn't done the OJ trial. This is years before in the 70s. In LA, though, he was mainstream, as he did handle a lot of cases in the LA area in the mid-70s that had to do with police brutality and all sorts of other injustices. And so just like Sonny Cochran here tries to help Lamont with some most likely racial cop who's profiling, Johnny Cochran in real life was already handling a lot of these cases in the local area where the show actually generates from, and the writing. So most believe, and it is rumored, that he is the inspiration behind Sonny Cochran. And one more fact, Lamont is charged with the crime section 21803 in the law. That's the actual current charge that he faced. That's a real charge. If you actually look it up, it describes everything to a T, basically what Lamont said the cop had said, and Fred read on the ticket. So those are some interesting facts you might not know about this great episode. Familiar faces. So with familiar faces today, we have the lovable and favorite Antonio Vargas, who of course plays Sonny Cochran. He's still alive. He's still with us right now and still acting. Actually, his last scene he did was called Murder City in 2023. So God bless him, still doing the entertainment. But he's been in over 130 movies and shows. And some of the classics will go. We've seen a lot of people from this channel when we go over the other shows they've done. Policewoman, which actually aired a couple hours after Sanford & Son on Friday nights. Isn't that ironic? So Policewoman, most known from Starsky and Hutch, 92 episodes. So he was Huggy Bear, a reoccurring character, and that was his real big cry to fame, was in Starsky and Hutch. He did a little bit of serious stuff in All My Children, 3 episodes on the soap opera. If you've ever seen the movie Firestarter with Drew Barrymore, he did appear in that. He was in one of my all-time favorite episodes and shows, and that is MacGyver. Just one time, but he was in MacGyver. 27 episodes in Everybody Hates Chris. I've seen that when we talked about him on our channel. He is referenced a lot from Everybody Hates Chris. 27 times. Let's get to the next actor, and that is Arthur Adams. That, of course, is Judge Mel Davis. He passed away in 1992 at the age of 76. Now, for his career, he did 73 movies and shows in total, including Coming to America, great movie with Eddie Murphy. He did appear in Sanford & Son again. Remember the episode where Donna gets proposed, and he's still, Mel Davis proposes to her and wants to get it. Now Fred has that gripping, heart-touching scene where he talks to Elizabeth and he's actually crying. Shows Red Fox's outstanding acting range. Another big show that a lot of actors from this were in, and that was 5 episodes of Canon. Ironically, Starsky and Hutch as well. He starred in one of those. And he was in 2 episodes of Sanford that was in the 80s, the continuation of Sanford & Son. Actor today is Sosimo Hernandez. That is Juan Diego Lopez. I didn't know that. He's awesome in this. We've seen him in another episode of Sanford & Son when Fred was on the city council. He was in there. Senor Rodriguez. So 2 times for him in Sanford & Son. Now, he had a very small career. 14 movies and shows. Not very big. A lot of them in this mid-70s. And ironically, he was in a movie called Norman, Is That You?, starring Red Fox, where his son turns out to be gay and he's dealing with that whole situation. So I wonder if Red Fox, working with him, became friends like he did so many times in Red Fox's life and brought him into Sanford and Son multiple times, always hooking up and always looking out for fellow friends or comedians or people that he runs into. So that is cool with him. His last one he ever did was, I think it was Maya. I believe it was a movie, Maya. That was the last movie he ever appeared in. Our next one is James Driscoll. He is the cop, the racist cop who can't bring anyone in there but black people. He did 25 movies and shows, including, ironically, Policewoman. We just covered that. Another person in Canon. Canon, another popular show a lot of people were in. And the last thing he ever did was in 1982 called Father Murphy, a TV show. He appeared one time. So those are familiar faces in this. Let's get to the breakdown.
This is Sonny Cochran. Sonny, this is
Sonny.
Sanford.
Hey, Miss Sanford, good.
And that's...
All right, with the breakdown, here we go. What an episode full of fun characters, amazing laughter, and we're going to see some clips and talk about it. We're going to start right away. You got Grady and Fred chilling, playing checkers. I mean, that's something where I could just sit, hang out, and watch these two and listen to them laugh. As Fred drops joke after joke about his frustration about how slow Grady is. But Grady, we got to give it to Fred, because Grady really, it would be a tough person to play checkers with. As he sits there, as you can see him right here, deciding what to do. He's even humming. And we can see the frustration on Fred. And then when he finally moves, he makes a big mistake that even 5-year-olds know you can't do in checkers.
What'd you do that for?
Because you was going to jump me.
Well, you can't shove that out there like that and then take your finger off of it. That's against the rules of the game.
When I see that, I just want to pick up the thing and throw the table and say, Grady, forget you. You know, I don't know where your finger wants to go. I know where to shove my foot. And Fred's pissed. And he even says, he goes, look, man, we got to finish this game. Lamont's going to come home, and he's going to be absolutely furious because I'm wasting time. This is exactly why he didn't want you to move in with me. Luckily for us, Grady got thrown out the very next day. But this is the stuff that would have been going on. So it doesn't work. You hear the truck. Lamont comes in, and he looks like a tornado, man. He looks like that new movie Twisters. Let's check him out.
I knew he was going to be mad. I didn't know he was going to be this mad.
Fred's the best. He's all, I didn't know he'd be that mad. The table over. Right? Because when you see it, you're like, man, if he's pissed, it's one thing, but you're flipping over the checkerboard. He was really upset. And rightfully so, because it's hard. Lamont tells him, hey, I got a ticket, man. I got a traffic ticket. I got a stupid traffic ticket. And the cop, in reality, should have seen, hey, you know what? Maybe he could have slid. I think this guy was just basically looking for someone, needed to get his quota. Sorry for all you police officers out there, but I've actually had a neighbor who was a sheriff and said, yeah, there are times we got to get our quota and you got to get so many done, because it's amazing how you can go out, see no cops around for 2 months, and then you see 5 people get pulled over on your way home from work all on the same day. Okay. So anyways, that's what could have happened to Lamont, because Lamont's like, man, I made the right choice. Fred's all, you failed to yield. Let's check that clip real quick.
Failure to yield to the right of way. What'd you do that for? I didn't. I know you didn't. That's what failing means.
So Fred rightly tells him, but Lamont's like, no, man, I did the right thing. So he's got to fight it. He's like, I'm not going to fight it. You know, you can't beat City Hall. But Grady has an amazing story about a friend, Ugly Clayton, who was big old bug eyes, as you see right there when Grady shows it. And we all know a person who has bug eyes like that. Heck, we saw the guy in the episode where Fred was pulling a cigar when he leaves his house and Julio's going to move in and make the Mofongo. He's going to make the Mofongo. Remember, he had some bug eyes, the actor laying there. So we know what he's talking about. And they thought he was a peeping Tom when he was cleaning the windows. But he fought City Hall. What happened to him, Grady? Share one of Grady's amazing stories, because those were the best. We just saw Grady last week, and that's what I said. Week in, week out, we're seeing Grady every week because the fans love him, and this is the reason why.
He walked 3 miles in the rain, gave it to the judge, and the judge found him innocent. 2 weeks later, Clayton died of pneumonia. But he died knowing that he was a clean old man with a garden.
In this fact, Lamont's like, oh yay, fight City Hall and die. No thanks, I'll pass on that. But he's got a friend. Remember, he was telling them earlier, may I make a suggestion? May I make a suggestion? And they kept ignoring him. Finally, they listened to him. And Fred says, why didn't you speak up, Grady? Gotta love Fred, always hitting it to Grady. So Grady goes and calls his friend, and now they have an opportunity This guy comes over, he's a tailor and a lawyer, and he can fight because he was struggling with the law business. So he said, hey, little bit of tailoring on the side, do back and forth, and now he's doing fine. And that's something we've talked about before in Sanford and Son. You love the community because, hey, if you could do 3 or 4 things, do them all at once, because that's more money, right? You need to give money any way you can to make it in this society. So he finally comes and shows up, and that's when we get to meet one of the most memorable characters, and we know that for a fact because we got thousands of people who voted in our tournament of best one and done, and Sonny Cochran is one of those, Antonio Vargas. And let's see, who says you're not a lawyer, right? We want to know. He says some places they say I'm a lawyer, some not. Fred has a very interesting question. Let's check it out.
It depends on who you ask. If you ask me, I'm a lawyer. Well, who says you're not a lawyer? The state of California.
The way Sonny Cochran says it so calmly, he's like, the state of California. The way he says it is just it's so hysterical that he just drops it like it's nothing, right? Like it's me saying, oh yeah, I'll have tacos for dinner. Like it was nothing big. So, but Grady's like, man, you got to hear this guy. You got to hear this guy. He's all, let's listen to this guy. This guy knows more law than most real lawyers, And so he's got something for him. And then watch Grady and Fred just go irate. They look like a couple of like fangirls who are going crazy over their favorite musician.
He can either pay the fine or fight it. Did you hear that, Fred? He said, man, that was legal talk.
I love when Fred's all, oh, that's a good one, Grady. Oh, yeah, that's good. So they're dying laughing. They're loving it. They think they got this in the bag. And Fred's like, you got to fight it. Remember, he told him earlier. He said, you let a white cop stop you in a black neighborhood because you're so mad you're seeing yellow or red, all the different things. He's all, now you a man or you a cram box? That's why it's so good. This has line after line after line, just like last week's, of just moments of comedy and hysteria and great writing. Some of the best writing they've ever had. So Lamont's like, no, I'm not doing it. I'm just going to do like I did the last 2. I'm going to pay the last 2 tickets. And that's when we get words of wisdom that only a lawyer like Sonny could bring.
If you have 2 prior tickets within the past year, do you know what this means? What? This means that this is your 3rd ticket.
This is the 4th. That'll be your 4th. Hey, I can do math. And Fred's scared. Remember, he's like, hey, man, if we lose the truck, we're going to have no more truck. Lamont's got no license. What else are we going to lose?
That goes the business. That goes Sanford. That goes Son. Won't be nothing left but Ann.
So Fred, oh man, that's such a great line. I had to put that in there. But yeah, so Fred's like, no, we're going to do it. And the whole thing is, Lamont tells him, hey, this is the real story, what happened. Even though I didn't do the legal thing, I did the safe thing, the right thing, as we talked about earlier. So he's like, he makes a great point. He's like, so now it's not your word against a police officer's word. Now it's your judgment. And when it comes to safety, that is huge. Even with a lot of culture nowadays, they want to push safety. And so this is a great argument for Lamont, and he makes great points on there. So then he goes, I got to show you guys how to do it and throw yourself on the mercy of the court. Let's check a small clip from that.
On the mercy of the court, and place my faith in the hands of your honor. Now.
I love at the end when he's all now, and then they all clap. Lamont gives him his hat back. So some of this is some of the best scene, and that's why this one's so good. When you have an episode where you go Grady and Lamont and Fred talking, that's funny. That's always funny. It's always great. Then you got Sonny Cochran come in, one of the most memorable characters ever, and it's nonstop hysteria. Great acting by Antonio Vargas. Then you go to court, and you're like, man, everyone remembers it as the court scene. Sometimes you might even forget about Grady or Sonny Cochran. You forget that. It's just like last week where you're like, it just doesn't stop. It is a roller coaster ride that has no slow dips. And so he's going to go back. He gives that great speech. He takes off, and now Fred's like, we got to fight it. Lamont's like, I can go to jail. And Fred's like, no, man, you got to take the chance. He's all, well, what if I go to jail? What are you going to be doing?
Where will you be? Where will I be? I'll be outside the jail with a big sign saying, free Lamont Sanford. Free Lamont.
And I believe it. Fred would be out there picketing. He'd probably make Grady, Bubba, all the crew come. So now we see them at court, and Fred, I'm not going to say everything, we break it down, but we know that he makes comments about the judge, right, our judges, because he's got the powdered wigs and the long black dress, and why do we got to stand up for him, right? So he has some great scenes right there as the judge comes out. So they sit down, and I love that they bring in Diego, they bring in him, and he's very funny, as we mentioned earlier, probably a friend of Red Fox, starred with him in a movie. And let's see some clips of him, because he's just too good to not at least show real
I was
fast.
driving in the fast lane, see, but I was going as fast as I could.
But it says on the traffic ticket you're only going 35 miles an hour.
But that's as fast as my car can go.
The best of I didn't know that. And Fred, even when he said that right there, he said, see, don't let the judge know you're ignorant. Oh my gosh, man. That's so funny. That guy said, if you talking about this episode, I forget the guy right here when he does that he, for Juan Diego, whatever, I forget he's even in it at times until I'm watching it. But when Fred says that line, it always kills me. That's a great one. So he's out of there, and who comes in? And when they come in, you can see him right here walking in. Oh my gosh. Just us. I'm already thinking, oh, like I would be cool. Hey, my friends are here. But I know my wife, my mom, other people would be so embarrassed. They'd be like, just like Lamont. Lamont's like, oh my gosh, I'm here to try to defend myself, fight a ticket, fight City Hall and the racist cop. And you guys are bringing a bunch of pool hall guys in here. So they sit down, and now they even start making bets, right? Lamont gets called up, and Lamont's like, I'm out of here. And then he's like, no, Lamont, you're called. So he gets up there. He's got to go now. So as he goes up, Bubba makes a deal with him. Let's check
Anyway,
this
your
out.
mouth is.
I got $2 says he's guilty. All right.
How about you, Grady? You want some?
I'll put 50 cents on it.
They're all taking bets. I love Grady's all. I'll put it in. You each get a quarter. So they make bets, and he's up there, and Lamont makes a great, as we talked about earlier, great speech. He's like, hey, even though I realize I didn't do the right thing, the lawful thing, I did the safe thing. I did something to avoid an accident. And then he's like, it's the other officer here, and so the officer walks up, and he's like, he had plenty of time. And that's when Lamont's like, no, I object. But remember, Bubba even said how good he looked. He's like, do I still have to do 2-to-1? Fred's like, I'll give you even money. So Fred's betting it straight up. And now Fred's going to need that money when he wins this, because something happens to him later where he's going to need cash. But that's when Fred says, you know what? Remember, he said, hey, I wouldn't think you would speak. I would think, your legal counsel would speak. And Lamont's like, well, I didn't even know doing this. Don't worry, Lamont. You have someone here. Is it Sonny Cochran?
Did you say that question could be better answered by his counsel?
That is correct. Who are you?
I'm his counsel.
That's so good when he gets up. I've been counseling him his whole life. And I love everyone going nuts. They're all excited for him to get up there. It's like, man, this ain't Gladiator, right? Where you're cheering for the gladiator. So he comes up there and he starts mentioning things. And, hey, a black man don't have a chance down here. And he's like, let's just see the judge. We got to show the judge say that. This is such a great
Court judge, a black man ain't got a chance down here.
I'm black.
Well, you the judge, that don't count.
So, yeah, he's like, yeah, you don't count, man. You don't get anything. But he's like, I just want to ask the arresting officer one question, right? And so he goes there and he says, why don't you arrest any white drivers? And everyone in the crowd goes nuts. They're like, yeah, you tell him, Fred. You get after him. You know what, man? Forget this. We need Johnny Cochran in there. This is what he does for a living. And the guy's like, I do arrest white drivers. He even puts his hands up. He's like, I do. And he's like, really? And Fred looks around, and of course, we got to see the line.
Well, where are they? Look at all these niggas in here. There's enough niggas in here to make a Tarzan movie.
When he says that, oh man, it kills. He does it with such a straight face. The officer feels so uncomfortable, but it's good, right? You're like, nah, man, you got to face up to it. Fred's doing it, and they are going absolutely crazy, man. It does look like a sporting event now at this stage, but Fred's right. He calls them on it, and he's talking about, man, look at everything in here. Oh my gosh. So he says it. The judge calms down. He's like, hey, you need to take that to your congressman. Write him. This is not the place for this. But Fred had demanded justice, and after doing all this, he talks it over. And what's the judge have to say of all this?
I find you not guilty and order this case dismissed.
Yeah. So the judge, he sees it regardless of Fred, right? And he even says that Fred's like, hey, you would have needed me, right? You did it because of me. And the judge is like, wrong. It's not because of you. He actually listened to Lamont and probably said, you know what? I'm going to go with this guy because this guy seems like, he even says, like a conscientious member of society, seems like a law-abiding guy and a smart guy. He seems like, hey, you're being honest. And he was. You could tell. Lamont seemed like a legit guy. And so he's defending his case, and he goes with, I don't think he needed Fred. So he's going to get off, and everyone goes pumped. Now it's like a whole victory, right? Take this, cop. So they're going at, they're getting bad. And that's when he tells them, wrong. Because Fred's like, right. you listen because I fought for the rights. And Fred, he's like, wrong. He was upset at Fred, and now he finds him in contempt. But Fred's like, contempt?
I have no choice but to find you in contempt of this court.
Judge, I don't have no contempt for this court. I did, but I don't now.
So he says, Judge is like, no, one more word out of you, it'll be another $25. He already gave him 25 bucks, now it'll be 50. Man, no way. We've talked about even 15 bucks is equivalent to like, to nowadays back then, it's equivalent to like over 50 something bucks. So that's a lot. So 50, man, oh my gosh, he's looking at like 150 to 200. Even then, that seems like not a lot nowadays, but man, that's a lot. That's a lot for Fred. So he's like, no, Lamont's covering his mouth, and they are done. They get out. His whole crew goes out. The courtroom probably got a lot more quieter. So he stands up to justice, Lamont does, and they find a way to get a victory. So he gets home, and he's pissed that he's got this fine. But you know what? In the end, it's Fred's fault. And remember, he tries to say, no, it's your fault, Lamont. Lamont's like, my fault? You're the one who told me to fight it. And what's Fred's theory behind this whole thing?
Look, I wouldn't even been in that courtroom if you hadn't decided to fight the ticket.
If I hadn't decided to fight the ticket,
You can't do that. That's just like a guy who would say, hey, give me a ride here, and then I'll give you a ride there, and then you get a ticket and say, oh, because I gave you a ride, it's your fault. No, you were doing the driving. Lamont, you told Lamont to fight it. He did. You went up there and stepped up. So no, Lamont did it. Would have won without it. It's on Fred. But like I said, he won what? Probably $4 bucks. I can't remember how much it was. Several bucks to help pay that $25 fine from his friends when he bet on Lamont. So yeah, I skimmed through this, but we saw some great clips. There is so much more that is on the cutting room floor that we've all seen. We're all diehards. Usually a diehard fan is the only one watching my channel, especially this deep into the show. But if you've never given it a watch in a long time or you kind of forget some of it, go watch it. It is this one, Mama's Baby, and then maybe like a handful of Grady episodes, and your afternoon is set. What a night, right? A lot of times that's how I used to end. Once in a while, not as much anymore, but I used to just every night, 2 episodes. What do I feel like tonight? Sanford and Son as I go to bed. It is the best show in my opinion. Funniest, as Nathaniel Taylor said, I will always quote him, the show was timeless and transcended race. And it did, and it still does to this day, 52 years later. So that is it on this episode. Thank you. One quick moment. Power to the Foxes.
Power to the Foxes.
Yes, that is Jim Moffitt, still our only member of the Gray Foxes. If you want a shout out, you got to be a member of that. Everyone else, thank you for joining to our other memberships. I really appreciate it. You get members only video, you get your own badges, all sorts of other things, and you're entered in every contest. And we still have one for a $20 gift card coming up still within the next few weeks. So go check that video out. It was on the Mama's Baby, Papa's Baby, a trivia challenge. A lot of people didn't do it. I stopped doing trivia game shows for a while because I'm not getting too many views on it. So maybe people don't like it. I like to try to do things people like. So if I don't see a lot of views, it goes away. But comment below if you like those. Comment your favorite moments in this. Is this a top 3 episode for you? Is it your number 1? It is a top 3 for me. Not number 1, but it is top 3 of all time. It's amazing. So thank you very much for anyone who's been a fan since my beginning or just recently subscribed. Thank you. I appreciate every subscription. Everything matters. Every like, every comment. You know, sometimes on a side note, doing a channel like this and you see big progression, then slow progression, then no progression, views, no views. It's hard. It is hard. It's hard up in here because you're like, I'm trying to do things that people like, that I still like, that I have fun doing. I have a blast doing these. But then there's times where I do some things where I go, it's a lot of work. It is a lot of work. I don't have an editor. I edit it. I film it. I write it. I do everything. So it is a lot of side work on the side. That's why anytime you can give a thanks, you know, to help financially, if your membership, if you want to click the thanks button and give it in, it does really help because that's one of the reasons too to help with the channel is to try to help financially with me in my personal life. But sometimes when you do these things and nothing gets done or there's no comments, you feel like nobody likes it and you put a lot of work into it. So always appreciate comments on what you think, good or bad, because sometimes people say on here, like right now, talk. All's good. You talk too much. I try to trim this episode down. You can see in the beginning, I try to cut down just to the minimum. Let me know, do you like it more? Do you like me to just blabber away and have a good time? Have a good week. We'll see you again Friday. Thanks a lot, guys. Peace.